How do you limit or decrease knee injuries in Jiu-Jitsu? The most important ways I think that you can limit injuries to the knee is by having mobile and flexible hips. Now, why this is the case is because you use your hips a ton in Jiu-Jitsu to weave your legs in and out for guard retention and getting into certain positions and lasso guards and rubber guards and those type of things. If you're not using your hips properly and you're not able to get your hip in the proper position, what that's going to do is going to put more strain on the knee. A knee is meant to basically primarily as a hinge joint, so it flexes and extends, so it bends and straightens. So the hip is a ball and socket joint. The hip has a ton more mobility. It flexes, extends, it rotates, it goes in, out, circumducts, so it does a ton of different stuff. And the hip is super crucial because if you do not have great flexibility in your hips, number one, it can lead to back pain as well because it's gonna put more strain on the spine. Basically, because the hips aren't flexible enough, your hip's gonna get to its end range and then some of the stress is gonna go on the spine or the sacrum or the pelvic area and the low back. And so that strain and that stress gets moved away from the hip once that hip is at its end range. So the more motion you have in your hip, the less pain you're gonna have in your knee, the less pain you're gonna have in your back. If you have muscles from the hip that attach to like the lower back and the pelvic area, you have muscles in the hip that kind of run down and cross the knee, so all that works together. So a great way to work on preventing injury is going to be to improve mobile hips. I have some videos on my channel that are going to show you ways to improve hip mobility using a belt, ways to improve hip mobility using a monster band, so you're doing mobilizations, actually not only stretching out the hip musculature, you're also stretching out the joint capsule itself, so that hip capsule is nice and loosened up, and also the flexibility in your hip is excellent, and that way that's going to allow your hip to move into better positions, provide more motion. In turn, it's going to decrease pain in your knee, decrease injury, decrease stress on your knee and your low back. So mobile hips are the key, guys, especially in Jiu-Jitsu. Make sure to stretch those hips, dynamic stretches before you work out, nice prolonged holds, relaxing holds after. It's going to be a great way. The important thing is be consistent. A couple times a day is great. Stretch on your off days as well. You see some good improvements, good results, and great injury prevention as well. See you guys next time.